Hey workout superheroes, it's Princess Atkins here. So you might be asking yourself, why are you in my kitchen? In my dirty kitchen at that. But I got something called the FOODCYCLER over the holidays for myself as kind of a Christmas present. And I wanted to share with you guys my thoughts on it. The FOODCYCLER you can find on Amazon, you can go to their website, and essentially it helps cut down on food waste. I did the Whole30, as many of you know, and I found that while I was cooking all my foods, I was ending up with a lot of what you would call food waste. Food waste is anything that is food that you don't eat and you either put in your garbage disposal, which creates problems for many of those very old garbage disposals out there, or that you put in your trash can, which then goes to the landfill, which is not good. And some cities actually have a green or a brown bin where you can put your food waste in. Now, every city is a little bit different. Some cities let you put food waste. Some say only vegetable and fruit waste. Some say you can put meat and bones in there. Again, to try and find the information on your local city is actually kind of difficult, even though we can search it online. It took me a good hour to figure out for my county and my city what it was. And unfortunately, in the city of Los Angeles, there isn't a good place to compost your food waste. So why could food waste be a problem? Well, the average human in 1 year can produce anywhere from 200 to 450 pounds of food waste. That's a lot of waste. The tops of your carrots that are getting thrown away, the shavings when you shave off the skin of your potatoes, the tops of your strawberries if you don't eat those, the tops of your tomatoes, the bits of garlic when you're like trying to unwrap them so carefully. This is all food waste, and it goes generally into a trash can, which is unfortunate. Now you might think, well, what's the problem with that? Well, when it goes to the city dump or a landfill, it doesn't have the right ways to decompose and become compost, which would actually be good for the land and good for the environment. What happens a lot of times is it just sits out in the sun and it decomposes and it creates methane gas. Now, methane gas is a very powerful greenhouse gas that's worse than CO2. So as I was realizing that I had so much food waste that I myself personally was creating in my house, cooking for myself and cooking for my boyfriend, I thought there has to be a better way. Now, I looked into composting, which when you live in an apartment, it is possible, but it's not very easy to do if you don't have a lot of space. And really, I have my kitchen. And I have a balcony, and I'm trying to grow a garden on my balcony, so I didn't want to compost there. So I found this nifty thing called a FOODCYCLER. Now, it doesn't actually compost your food waste, but it does kind of quote-unquote recycle it, so it is usable. So let me show you the FOODCYCLER, and I'll share my thoughts about it with you. Enjoy! So here's my FOODCYCLER. It's out and on the counter of the kitchen. So I wanted to point this out because my house was built in the mid-1930s, and so my countertops are actually not as deep as an average countertop that would be built to today's standards. I found this out the hard way when we tried to get a dishwasher, and our countertop is not as deep as the average normal dishwasher. So we have to find something a bit smaller, which is doable, just not the average. Anyways, so you can see my counter is not as deep as most people's counters that would be if they were living in a more modern house, but it still fits totally fine. I believe this is the FOODCYCLER 2. I chose the one in gray because I loved the color of this. I have it sitting here next to my microwave, so you can kind of see that it's about as deep as my microwave, probably even a little more shallow, but it is a little bit taller than my microwave is. And sometimes I put other appliances here, like my Keurig machine, but I have an outlet on this far wall, so it plugs in right there. The FOODCYCLER came from Amazon. I purchased it on Amazon, and it came within 2 or 3 days, which was super speedy. And this is the box. It's huge, and it was pretty heavy. Not something I couldn't lift myself, just something that, be aware, bend with your knees, lift with your legs, don't lift with your back. But yeah, they definitely said heavy, lift with care. There's a fragile sticker on here somewhere. So it was definitely shipped in a very, very big box. The box that the actual FOODCYCLER came in looks like this. It was packaged very nicely. There is, like half of it's gone, but there was foam inside there. It felt very sturdy inside the box. It came with the 2 filters that you put in the back. I would show you, but it's all the way back here. There are complete instructions on how to set it up, and it literally took me 5 minutes to set up. I wish I would have filmed it. Inside the box are also these little cards, kind of a thank you to our valued customer, a filter information card. Not only does it tell you how to replace the filters, but there is a warning on the top that says make sure you remove the stickers on the top of your filters. I think one of my filters had a sticker and the other one didn't. It shows you where to go to get replacement filters, a warranty registration, and the magical card that shows you what you can and cannot put in your FOODCYCLER. There's also a quick start guide, but essentially things you can put in your FOODCYCLER are beans, seeds, legumes, cereals, grains, cheese, coffee grounds. It says filters, tea bags, eggs, eggshells, fruit, vegetable scraps. See limitations, because there are a couple. You can also put meat, fish, shellfish, and poultry scraps in here, which most composters, you can't put meat into. Now remember, this is not an actual composter. It's not composting your food, but is recycling it in a way that you can actually reuse it in your garden. You can put pet food in here. You can put chicken and fish bones. Fish bones are very specific because they're small and they're very fragile, unlike chicken bones. Things you cannot put in your FOODCYCLER: beef bones and or other hard bones. They're too big, they're too strong. Candy or gum, anything that's really like chewy or gummy, I would actually not recommend putting in there either. Cooking oils or greases. Now, if you've cooked your food in an oil, I have had no problem with putting like my cooked asparagus or my cooked Brussels sprouts that I use olive oil, coconut oil, a myriad of different oils to cook with. Just don't pour the oil directly in here. I've put old salad that has salad dressing on it. Again, it shouldn't be super liquidy, but if it's a little bit, it'll be fine. No hard pits, and they specifically call out peaches, apricots, and nectarines. No nuts and other hard shells, and no non-food items. And then down here at the very bottom it says in limited quantities, starchy foods such as cake, rice, pasta, bread, french fries, potatoes, and baking ingredients, which, you know, if you're trying to eat clean and healthy, you don't have a lot of that stuff in the house. Maybe potatoes, maybe sweet potatoes, but you generally eat all those. But I've never had a problem putting, if I like shaved the top of the potato, I've never had a problem with that stuff. It says high sugar fruits, grapes, melon, cherries, oranges, pineapple, banana, etc. I only tend to put that stuff in my FOODCYCLER if it's gone bad from my fridge, so there's not a lot of it left. It's just like a small handful. And the stuff that I do end up putting in, it's kind of either the rinds or the tops of the strawberries, and I just make sure all of my foods that like are melons or oranges, I really cut down the rinds so they're in small pieces, and that helps a lot. Limited quantity sauces, dressings, and condiments. We've already talked about that. Food waste high in fat content. Peanut butter. Again, that's kind of, I don't want to call it gummy, but let's be honest, you eat all your peanut butter. At least I do. I've never actually tried putting peanut butter in here because peanut butter is not something that goes to waste in my house. We like literally lick the jars clean, and we generally have almond butter instead of peanut butter, so yeah, that almond butter canister is like crystal clear by the time it goes in the recycling bin. And finally, jams, jellies, and marmalades, because they are gummy and sticky. So when you open up, let's get rid of this stuff, the FOODCYCLER, this is your handle here, you just turn it. There's a lock and unlock little icon here that you'll see, and then it lifts straight up. It's so easy to do. If it's hard for you to do, you're doing it wrong. Next, inside here, you'll find a little divot kind of close to where you are, probably standing in front of it, and out lifts this bucket. So I'm going to show you the inside of mine. Mind you, you guys, it's almost February, and I've been using this all of December. So you'll see I tried to clean it the best I could, but it is kind of dirty in there because I use this almost every day. So it's a little bucket. Those little things will end up turning as the FOODCYCLER is plugged in. There's little teeth on the bottom. Ooh, there's a little bit of water in there from when I washed it, just dripped down my arm. So essentially, you don't want to get any food or water in this section. And inside this little thing here, there's a little line. You don't want to fill the food above that line. So the way I put my little bucket in is there's 3 little screws here, and they should be at the front of the FOODCYCLER. When you look down inside the FOODCYCLER, there'll be a little notch or opening for these little these little screws. So it'll go straight down. You might have to wiggle it, and then it should go into place. If not, just move those little the little knob in the center, and it'll fall into place. And then you just take your handle and you push it off to the side. Ta-da! Can you tell how much I love this? I literally use it every day. So I cooked dinner last night. I made a spaghetti sauce with turkey meat, and I have some food waste. I've also been keeping my coffee rinds. So we're gonna put all the food in here. We'll let it go, and then I'll come back and show you what it turns into. So I have some avocado and tops of, I think that's a tomato. Yep. I'm just gonna dump it right in there. This one has lots of coffee grounds. It has shaved pieces of carrots, the top of strawberries, garlic. That went bad. And again, I'm just gonna toss it all in there. And then finally, this container has, oh, this is good, and my eyes are watering. It has onion skins, bell pepper. Ooh, it smells so bad. And lots of coffee grounds in this one too. So I'm just gonna pour it in there. Just like so. So generally when I cook dinner, I can fill this in one sitting. If not, I just put my, if like I'm making little things, I'll put my food waste in a Tupperware container and just keep it in the fridge or the freezer, generally the fridge. And I'll get enough until I cook dinner, and then I'll put everything in. I tried leaving it in here and it just went bad, and I tried leaving it on the counter and it attracted flies and started smelling. So just leave your food waste in the Tupperware, in the fridge. If more than one of you lives in the house, just label it food waste. No one will touch it, I promise. They'll get so grossed out. So once it's full, just make sure it's just below that little line inside the bucket. There's a little arrow on the top of this. Ta-da! Right there. So you line it up with the unlock. It'll slide right in, and then twist it, and it'll say lock. And then, this is the fun part. When you plug it in, it turns on. You can kind of hear it. It's not very loud. This little blue light turns on. And then, to start it, you just push the button, and a green button, or a green light turns on. So as you can hear, it's not very loud, and it will run for about 3 hours. So I'm gonna let it do its thing, and I will come back in about 3 hours and show you what comes out. All right, so it's been 3 or more hours. The sun has gone down. I've had dinner. I went to go see a show. And what's really nice about the FOODCYCLER is when it's done doing its cycle, it just shuts itself off. So I haven't touched it, and you'll see that all the lights are off. It's still plugged in, and the power button is even turned off as well. So you can do it in the middle of the night as you sleep. You can set it to go when you leave the house in the morning, and it automatically turns off when the cycle is over. So this is what you get. So be careful when you take the bucket out and it's just finished its cycle, the bucket's gonna be hot to the touch. But since it's been a couple hours, it's just kind of warm. So this is what it looks like. It essentially looks like dirt with some dried pieces in there. You probably can see some of the onion that was in there. And then I just take it and I pour it all into a Tupperware bucket. like so. And you'll see in here there's a little bit of rinds in there. It's totally fine. I just leave that in there for the next go around. I just make sure it's not like stuck to the walls. If it's nice and powdery, it can stay in there. And then this is what I take out and sprinkle in my garden. And it's really fun because as you eat and put different vegetables in, your what comes out actually turns different colors of brown. So have had everything from super, super light brown to a really, really rich dark brown like this one because there's lots of coffee in it. So the one thing that I have noticed with this is it takes a lot of food waste, like a full bucket, and it will dehydrate it down to be about half the bucket. So what filled that bucket is now in this little Tupperware container. That is really cool. I can then take this and dump it directly on my plants and use it as fertilizer. And I think that's awesome. The thing that I thought was weird is I have put different types of meat in there, hamburger beef, chicken, turkey, fish. And when you put it in the garden and then you water it, those meat pieces, even though they've been broken down and sterilized, rehydrate and they attract flies and bugs. And so I'm now trying to only put fruits and vegetables in my FOODCYCLER and then just eat all the meat. If there's those little pieces of fat that I'm not going to eat, I just throw those in the trash can. Unfortunately, I haven't found something really good to do with those yet, but I'm on the lookout. And then just putting the fruit and vegetable scraps in the garden, and that seems to be working really well. So if you guys have any questions or comments about the FOODCYCLER, let me know in the comments below. I hope you guys have a great day.